Some say we've gone too far, that we're going against the current, but I would like to ask you, when did recognizing rights become something radical? When did empathy become something exceptional? Spain is above all a welcoming country, and this is the path we choose: dignity, community, and justice.
We're happy to be here. It's been a very tough experience to go from the ocean. It was very tough. The police officers tried to stop us, but our will and our determination, we could came here.
Viene aquí a buscarse la vida. Esto es bonito, es bonito. A mí es bonito.
We've seen similar incidents in the past. 5 years ago was probably the biggest one. Over 10,000 people crossed over in a matter of days, overwhelming security forces on the Spanish side of the border. And there are some indications that this crossing could be even bigger. Ceuta is one of two Spanish enclaves in North Africa. Although they're overseas, they're the only land border that the European Union has with Africa. The population of Ceuta is around 80,000 people, and it is obviously an attractive destination for migrants attempting to reach Europe because it's the closest that they have to Morocco. In this case, in Ceuta, migrants were mostly arriving by swimming across from Morocco. It's not such a long distance. The main issue is that the Spanish Supreme Court ruled recently that they cannot be immediately deported back to Morocco once they arrive. There is a specific procedure that must be followed by authorities so that their rights are guaranteed. So there's a lot of uncertainty still regarding what will happen in the next few days, but keeping in mind that this is a very small territory with a population of only 80,000 people, it is going to be very difficult for them to absorb these numbers of arrivals. Ceuta residents are very worried of the impact that this could have in the next few days, and we'll have to see what happens to the migrants that arrived, if they will be forced to return to Morocco or maybe move on to other parts of Spain. That still is pretty much unclear.
Para dar una respuesta coyuntural a la espera de ver exactamente qué modificaciones legales tenemos que hacer, si es que las hubiera, hemos solicitado a la empresa pública Sasemar, también en colaboración con la Armada y, por supuesto, también con la Guardia Civil, el despliegue de boyas en el Espigón, entre otras cosas, para dar cumplimiento a la sentencia del Tribunal Supremo y al menos crear una barrera de contención, una barrera física, en términos al menos visuales, para que desde el punto de vista administrativo se pueda facilitar la repatriación en frontera, dando, por tanto, cumplimiento a la sentencia del Tribunal Supremo.
هنا في المعبر الحدودي ديال بلينصار. اوي 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 يا ربي السلامة يا ربي يا ربي السلامة يا ربي.
It is Friday, 31 July, the year of our Lord 2026. The question we have before us today, can Western civilization actually garner the political will to defend itself and to push its project forward with some urgency and thrive and grow and be healthy in the greatest civilization in the history of mankind? It's created more wealth, more beautiful art, more magnificent discoveries. And the test case we have now is in, Spanish Morocco and Spain. Ben Harnwell and Posobiec are going to join me. But the lesson here is this is what open borders socialism, this is the Ugandan Marxist jihadist running New York City. This is what New York City's turned into. We're going to have Bensman join us and Brian Harrison from Texas, Bensman from Texas, also about the southern border, what you can anticipate and expect, and about the Haitians in Springfield that are still in Springfield. Rosemary Jenks will join us. So we're packed in the first hour to lay the case out for you and why if you don't vote or if you look the other way, as bad as things may seem, this is what you're going to get. Ben Harnwell, first, explain to our audience exactly what's going on. You've been on this on your brilliant 6 p.m. show. Why this is it's invasion porn. There's a lot going on here, and the nations of Europe have been just performative. Le Pen came out, I think, said, hey, when she takes over next April, she's going to seal the border. Our favorite Maloney, phony Maloney, has now come out with a statement. Explain to our audience before I jump to Poso about how you defend against this and how Spain has historically defended against this. And no, I'm not. I'm talking about something more recently than Queen Isabella. But where is she when we need her? Ben Harnwell.
Steve, good morning. And you're absolutely right. This is why we call it an invasion. And this is why we call people coming in invaders and not immigrants, because this is a full-on, in-your-face invasion. And in your opening question, Steve, you mentioned in passing all the great things that Western civilization has achieved: prosperity, health, opportunity, the arts, culture, at an unprecedented level in human history. But that's on one side of the scales. On the other side, we have a neurosis and a lack of confidence about defending that culture that is almost the same weight as the culture itself. Half the people living in the West are ashamed of it, and they have no special inhibitions about working towards its implosion and its collapse. And you see that at the political level, and you see that in the left, and you see that in the socialist, not only socialist government right now in Spain, Pedro Sanchez. Steve, the figures that what we're watching here now, which is to some extent the collapse of a civilization in slow motion, isn't the most important thing. You mentioned the show, the 6 p.m. show that we do. We've been covering this for months. What you're seeing here is just a small element of the system breaking down. Far more dramatic than this is the fact that the same government in Spain granted an amnesty a few months ago. As I say, we've been covering this every week on our 6 p.m. show. An amnesty of, they said, 500,000 invaders. The actual number of applicants who filed papers to remain legally in Spain was 1.2 million invaders. Once they have those papers, Steve, they will be able to legally travel anywhere within the Schengen zone of the European Union, right? Now, and in that case, we had basically nothing from Giorgia Meloni. Now she's saying, because, I don't know, the figures are disputed of how many people are coming in over the last 48 hours. Some people put it up to 60,000. These figures, what we're seeing now, has prompted the Italian government to say, okay, we'll suspend the Schengen Agreement, effectively the border control for people traveling in from Spain. But this is nothing compared to what has been done regularly with order, according to due process. That is how you know that what you are seeing coming out of Italy right now is simply performative.
Ben Harnwell, absolutely brutal. Hang on for a second. Ben's in Rome. Jack Posobiec, you remember when we came up with a book, Unhumans, War Room, our War Room imprint over at Skyhorse. We select these books and curate them to have as much impact as possible. When Jack Posobiec came with his book, Unhumans, the firestorm on the left was pretty unbelievable. And what they accused Jack of, oh, you're a fascist, you like Franco, you talk about, we got to get back to how you actually keep order. Folks, what you saw in the opening cold open is on the ballot in November. Was it a large minority in this country, maybe up to 50%, at least 40%, over a third, let's say, are ashamed of Western civilization, are ashamed of this country, are ashamed of our revolution. They're racked with guilt. And that's why it's no debating. It's no set of debates or facts are ever going to change them. This is the crowd that's in back of the Ugandan Marxist jihadists. You want to see what socialism brings? Look at Spain. Just look at Spain, because that's what's coming. We stopped it. We put our fingers in the dike with people like Todd Bensman and Ben Berquam. Michael Yan and Oscar Blue Ramirez and others. Short break.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we have to stop with the happy talk. We have to stop with the campaign slogans. We have to stop with all that. Western civilization is on the brink. And we have to make a decision what we're going to do about it. Are we going to defend it? And by defending it means fighting back, and I mean fighting back hard. I got Brian Harrison's going to come up in a moment about what's going to Texas by the Texas government to continue with this outrage of anchor babies. Benjamin's going to be up with Rosemary Jenks about the Haitians are still in Springfield. Why is that? Why is the planes down on the tarmac? Why didn't they leave 2 nights ago? And you got DeWine and these guys all loving up on them, that they're so great they kind of changed and saved Ohio. Because right now we have to cut to the chase. This is not about Spain. This is what Spain and what the socialists and what this mentality among even the conservatives just prepared to sit there and be controlled opposition to allow your country to collapse, to allow your civilization to collapse. This is what Mamdani represents. This is what the control of Minneapolis and Los Angeles and Chicago. Jack Posobiec put up something pretty brilliant this morning. He said, hey, calling Commander Bovino, you're needed in Spain. And my response to that was, yo, Jack, Bovino is a guy like Caesar had the pacified Gaul. We need Bovino back to Minneapolis. And in fact, we need him in New York City. He needs to go to City Hall, take Mamdani, and let's denaturalize him and deport him and get him the hell out of the country. Jack Posobiec, when you wrote the book on humans, you particularly highlighted Spain and Franco. Tell me about it, sir.
Look, Steve, when we wrote on humans 2 years ago now, and actually when we first started doing this, we produced an episode called Chronicles of the Revolution, all about the Spanish Civil War. That was 3 years ago now, and we came up with a sort of social media campaign where we called it Franco Friday. And so, of course, today is Franco Friday. We have returned Franco Friday. It was banned in Spain. My podcast was banned in Spain. My book was banned in Spain. We were not allowed to share links about it because they claimed that we were breaking the Spanish law of remembrance. And the Spanish law of remembrance is that you are only allowed to talk about Franco if you demonize him, if you take the communist line on him. You are not allowed to write or tell stories that simply tell the objective fact that Franco defended Spain from some of the most horrific and brutal and savage demonic creatures that have ever existed on planet Earth. There was the Soviet-backed communists and the Antifa guerrillas that were running around Spain that had been unleashed by the socialist government of Spain at the time in the 1930s. Remember, this is pre-World War II, and the Soviet Union had backed them up. The first thing they did was they sent all of the gold of the treasury of Spain to Moscow. So they looted it because they're criminals and thieves. They sent all the gold back to Moscow. Then they started going to the churches. And they always start with the churches, Steve. And what do? They started killing the priests. And if there were any nuns, they put them up on the altar and they started raping the nuns on the church altars. Then they would shoot the nuns in the head and put their bodies up in the middle of the town square so everyone would see what would happen, because the church was always associated with God, with hierarchy, with all of these things. They always come for the Christians first. Then they went after anyone who was associated with the landowners, right? If you, for example, I don't know, if you owned 2 houses maybe, and you had one house in the country and one house in the city, they would come after you, and you would be put before the people's committees, and then you would be judged. And eventually, Steve, the Spanish military said essentially no mas. And so the Spanish Civil War took place. Franco did not start the Civil War, by the way. He was not the first person to begin that. But once it did take place, he rose to become the leader of the Spanish nationalist forces and fought to restore the monarchy of Spain. And this is the big thing, the big issue there, because nobody talks about, yes, there was a war. Yes, there was a civil war, of course, and we talk about that in the book. But nobody seems to talk about what happened before Franco rose to power. Nobody seemed to talk about what the situation was going on, what had happened. And when I see the images of Spain now, when I see what's being done with the borders being thrown open by Pedro Sanchez, who is a socialist, who is a fool, and the absolute demonic, and it is a demonic agenda for what they are doing to the people of Spain. You don't think there's going to be there is already being Spanish girls raped. There's already people being murdered. It's all happening again. And in many cases, it's the same people and the same type of people who are allowing it to happen. But in fact, it's actually worse. It's worse because they're selling out their own country to the foreign hordes. It's actually worse than what the socialists in the 1930s were doing.
This is Mamdani. This is Mamdani in New York City.
Yes. This is what they want for the United States. If the Democrats get back in power, the first thing they'll do is they'll put Fauci back at the head of Health and Human Services. Then they'll take the entire country and they will do this to all of us. This is what we are fighting against right here.
Yeah. Now, I realize when they're doing focus groups, the Republican operatives are freaked out. The small dollar donations have dried up, have gone to zero. This is why they're running around trying to get Elon Musk money. Because Elon Musk needs it because his company's collapsing right now. He's going to need a bailout, right? Very simple. If they do the focus groups, you see what people are saying, why is Fauci not arrested, right? Why are these people not arrested? Where are the perp walks of the deep state? The Republican base, the MAGA base gets it. They understand exactly. And if you give them some leadership and show them that you're taking action, they will turn out in droves, okay? We're on the right side of this. Jack, I just want, before I go back to Ben, they always put the happy face of socialism. We're going to kind of give you some free stuff. You know, you're going to get cheaper food. You're going to get free food. We're going to help you with your rent. We're going to give you, I read the other day how they're describing a socialist day off that you can kind of go out and play some sports and hang with the kids because you're going to get a day off every, of the 5-day work week. You don't think work 3 or 4. They always put a happy face. And it always ends in the gulag, correct? Here's what you're seeing in Spain. They are opening their country up to be overrun by the most savage foreigners in the world, and they want a reinstallation of Islam in Spain. Jack Posobiec.
Well, Steve, we didn't cover that in the book specifically, but any student of history certainly knows that Spain was conquered by the Moors, was conquered by the Caliphate once in the past and ruled for almost 700 years. But the people of Spain rallied around their central guiding force, Christ Jesus, the King of the universe. And with one voice, the Spaniards declared Viva Cristo Rey, and they instituted the Reconquista. And they had only one province left. They had only one province left up in the north. And they fought back and they took back their entire country from the Caliphate once in the past, and the people of Spain can do it again. Steve, this is what's clear. What you just said there. It is action. Yeah, we no more talk. We can't have this
no more talk
anymore.
We're tired of it.
Oh, the socialists are bad. You must take action.
By the way, James Blair and those guys, you can go shake down the oligarchs for as much money as you want. It doesn't matter. Take action. I hope today at 11 o'clock up at Camp David, they get him off site. I hope President Trump is reading the riot act to these people. He wants action. You used a phrase right there, Jack. I just want to make sure, because the same phrase in the Mexican Civil War, which was really an anti-Christian, there was also Marxism and trying to destroy Christianity. Christ is king, correct? And when you say Christ is king, is that anti-Semitic?
No, it means Christ is king, and Christ is the king of the entire universe. That includes every group of people. That includes everyone under God's civilization. And we all pray, of course, for Christ's love to come into every heart. It's for all people. It's never been about ethnicities or ethnic groups or anything to do with that. It has to do with Jesus Christ and Christianity, going back to John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God.
Ben Harnwell. What is the prospects for Europe? What are they going to do to stop this? Is an invasion. Queen Isabella, thank God, had the stones to reverse this 800 years ago, I think, or after 800 years of being conquered by Islam. What is the prospects of this socialist government? And can you see from your perch in Rome and this great show you're doing every 3 days a week at 6, the connections to Mamdani, the Ugandan Marxist jihadist that hates America and everybody around him hates America, sir?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely draw those dots, and you can definitely say that these processes accelerate under socialism. But from my perch here in Europe, it's the centre right which is really is culpable. The whole invasion kicked off 10 years ago, driven by Angela Merkel, who was a Christian Democrat. So I would reframe this. I see the invasion as the number one existential threat facing Western civilization today. It's not Iran. It's not even debt. All of these things, it's not even radical Islam. All of these things can kill us off in the long term, in the medium to long term. But right now we have this invasion, and we're not going to have any countries left unless we deal with that. So I wouldn't divide politics at this moment in time, between left and right or what have you. I would divide it between anti-invasion and all the rest. Unless you are going into politics today to stop the invasion and send back the people who have illegally invaded our countries, you're part of the problem, not the solution. And anything else is basically just talking points. That's my first point. My second point is I've got to come back here to Italy, because this is a prime example. You have so many. Giorgia Meloni is on the polls. She's on like 40% at the moment, which is huge numbers here in a proportional representation system. One of the reasons is because people here in Italy, I'll continue this point after the break, right? What people here in Italy aren't as engaged in politics as Americans are. They look to the state solutions, and they don't have this sense that Americans have of agency. Why is that important? Because in 2020, Giorgia Meloni had national attention when she was opposing the 30 or so thousand people overstaying on their visas. She became prime minister. She widened that scheme to 170,000, right? I'll continue this after the break because it's an important point.
Hang on, short commercial break. Brian Harrison, also in Texas. It's going to blow your head up about what's happening there. Short break.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I'm going to get back to Harnwell in a moment, and it's such a great way to define it. You're either for stopping the invasion and expelling the invaders, or you're not. And that's the dividing line right now throughout Western civilization. Jack Posobiec, I know you get a bounce. Closing thoughts, sir, and then where do people get your running commentary on your Twitter and Getter feed, and where do they get the book? Because now more than ever, maybe they need to read On Humans.
Well, look, and you can go check out the book. Everyone knows where to get On Humans, but Steve, Franco Friday is back. It is back by popular demand. They tried to take it away, but the people demanded. They said, Jack, it's Friday. You got to do it. You got to bring Franco Friday back, because sometimes, Steve, you got to call in the cleanup crew. And the reason that the left and the communists hate Franco so much that you can't even say his name in Spain under the Spanish government is because he's the one who beat them. He's the one. Spain was the one country where the communist revolution was defeated, was crushed, and was broken in half. That's why they hate him so much. And because he restored the king, he restored the church. And by the way, go look at what he did to the Spanish economy, started the Spanish nuclear program, et cetera, okay? And by the way, this was not controversial. Ronald Reagan went over and met with him. Eisenhower went over and met with him. Salvador Dali was a huge fan of Franco because they tortured his sister during the revolution. And so just go back and look at the actual facts. Don't read the communist BS. But Steve, let me ask you another question, perhaps a little bit more salient. Isn't Spain a NATO member? I thought Spain was a member of NATO, and I thought that an attack or an invasion on a NATO member would trigger Article 5. I thought that's how collective defense worked.
Let me make a recommendation on the cabinet meeting. I started at 11 o'clock. Let me toss out an idea for discussion. Let's pull everything, the carrier battle groups. Let's pull everything out of Iran. Let's get all the troops out of Iraq. Let's pull it all out of the Middle East, and let's defend Western Christendom. Let's do it off of Spain. Let's get the carriers back up to Rota. Let's stop the invasion. Let's move all the assets there. It's an Article 5 invasion. Let's do it. President Trump should do it. And let's pull everything. The Middle East is a sideshow. The Israel situation is a sideshow to a sideshow. The main event, the United States of America and Europe. You see it right now. Western civilization is this is what it felt like at Rome when the Visigoths were showing up, and the Goths were showing up, and the Vandals were showing up, and good people just sat there and go, oh my gosh, I don't know how we stop it. Well, you stop it by fighting back, pull everything out, pull both carrier battle groups and bring them around to Rota, Spain, and let them sit there right there with the destroyers and the frigates and start rounding these guys up. And let's tell Spain, if you're not prepared to defend yourself, then you're a problem to the United States of America, because it's all coming here and we're not going to tolerate it. Jack Posobiec, your thoughts on that?
Well, Steve, I certainly think that it's absolutely covered by it's completely legal, and it's covered by something called Article 5 of NATO. It's a mutual defense treaty. Anyone can go look it up. That's the entire point of Article 5. And Steve, by the way, even if the president, has some other plans going on, then I say maybe Spain could restart a little something called the Spanish Foreign Legion, and I don't know, maybe some good patriotic Americans, some good patriotic Western Christians could go over to Spain. I don't know, maybe call it something like the Trump Brigades.
I like the branding. I like that, because the left, the commies, played the Lincoln Brigade forever. We got a Trump Brigade of people prepared to volunteer.
And by the way, you know what they called the commie brigade in the other commie brigade? They called it the Anti-Fascist Brigade. It was literally called the Antifa Brigade.
Hey, Jack, Christ is King, right?
Viva Cristo Rey. Happy Franco Friday, Steve.
Thank you, brother. Always great. Ben Harnwell, nail this point you were making. You're either with us or you're against us. There's no in between. You can't debate this. You can't argue it, sir.
It's the true dividing point in contemporary politics, Steve. I was actually going to say something different. I had a different point to finish on. I'm going to come back to what you just said, right?
Sure.
You suggested that this whole thing has a decline and fall of the Roman Empire type of end to it. Actually, when I saw those images this morning, I think that wasn't what I was thinking. I was thinking this has a Weimar energy to it, because you have a governing class that does not have the confidence to govern, and it does not have the confidence of the people. It's a Weimar energy, this. And when you see the state, the judiciary coming up saying, no, this might be enclaves in Northern Africa, in Morocco, but this is European Union territory, even if it's not continental Europe, and therefore the full protections of European law has to apply there. When you're doing that, you're setting the whole state up against the people, and you're saying, if you see this as an existential threat, you have to submit to what we're saying, rather than defend your country. When you do that, this is a Weimar energy, and I'll tell you why. Wow. Because this is what's going to happen. You're going to get a guy or a woman come up and say, vote for me, and I will declare martial law. I will declare a state of emergency, and I will get every single one of these invaders out of our territory. And they are going to need to declare a state of emergency in order to do that, because the magistracy, the judiciary, is lining up behind the invaders, as is the government, as is the whole of the state, right? That's why this is setting up a Weimar dynamic. Extremely important. And there's just everyone who could do something about it now is just sitting there, letting it happen. And when that happens in 5 or 10 years' time, when you're going to get someone who's going to come in and declare martial law to actually be able to do something about this problem, you're going to have all the people who did nothing now are going to be clutching at their pearls and saying, oh my God, this is the end of the world, the end of civilization. Right? They are creating, by their inaction, is creating the circumstances of what is going to happen. That is the energy here. It's a Weimar energy.
Wow. Ben Harnwell, where do they go? Your 6 o'clock show, you've been ahead of this now for about 9 months. Talk to me about 6 o'clock. I'll let you go get ready for your 6 o'clock show right now from Rome, live from Rome. What's your social media, sir?
My Getter platform is my social media of choice, at Harnwell. I am also on X. I am sorry, Steve, to say this. I am also on X, the unmentionable platform, Ben_Harnwell.
Well, Elon's going to put some money, cash in to save himself. He's got to get a bailout because the whole fraudulent...
No. You Americans are going to be putting some cash in to bail him out.
I know. I got it. I got that, brother. What do you think he's putting money in to try to save the establishment Republicans? Thank you very much, Ben Harnwell.
Thanks, Steve.
Love you, brother. Harrison, of all the stuff you've brought the last couple of years, and you've been the leader, we would have not held the house of Brian Harrison, or even have a chance to hold the house of Brian Harrison had valiantly stepped up a couple of years ago about this whole fiasco about the redistricting and the illegal aliens that had kind of skewed things down in Texas. But what you put up in the last 24 hours is jaw-dropping, particularly given the crisis we're in. Explain to people what the state of Texas, folks, all you grassroots people out there and all you hardworking people out there that knock on doors and hit them with $50 and go to the rallies for Abbott and these guys and defend it and do all that. I want you to embrace and immerse yourself in about what you're about to hear. Brian Harrison, the floor is yours.
This is an absolute scandal. It's an outrage. I think we've got the Texas government engaged in a cover-up at this point. And let me take you back in time where this all started was with that absolute abomination of a Supreme Court birthright citizenship ruling, right? Everybody remembers this. Okay, well, I was getting fed up with elected Republicans in the great state of Texas doing nothing more than like strongly worded tweets, the letters of condemnation. No, I want action. And the 30 million people who call Texans home, they want action. So I demanded the governor call a special session because people are shocked to learn this. Birth tourism, yeah, it's not a crime in Texas. And we apparently have a thriving birth tourism industry to facilitate anchor babies coming here in Texas right now. It's legal. I think we should not tolerate that. We should use every tool at our disposal to fight birth tourism. So I want a special session to make birth tourism a felony. I've been pushing for that. But one of the other things I'm pushing for, among many, stop giving birth certificates to illegal aliens. Okay, so I've been calling on the governor to direct the Texas Health Department to stop issuing, these are state documents, stop giving them to illegal aliens. Okay, he's refused to do that so far. But I kept digging on this, and I was shocked to learn that not only are we giving birth certificates to illegal aliens, we're advertising birth certificates for illegal aliens on official government taxpayer-funded websites, and in the advertisement in huge bold font right on the Texas government website, we're advertising the most popular foreign documents that you can use to get a birth certificate in Texas. I'm not making this El Salvadorian, consular documents, Mexican voter ID. And here's my personal favorite, a library card. Okay, so the Texas government advertising birth certificates for illegals. And I've started July 2nd. I put up a post.
Hang on, slow down, full stop.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack
I just want to
here.
hit this again. No. You're telling me, given all the firestorm we've had in the last couple of weeks about the Supreme Court decision and your call for, hey, you got to stop this in Texas, are you telling me that the Texas government under Abbott is has advertising these websites up, advertising how you actually do this and accomplish this to foreigners, sir, that are not U.S. citizens?
Yeah, and actually, we haven't even got to the real part of the scandal. The real scandal's coming up. But yes, do you remember, Steve? Everyone made headlines. This billboard, these hospitals were advertising in Mexico. Come have your baby in Texas. And the national outrage on that. This is worse than that because this is effectively the Texas government, which is taxing Texans out of their homes, highest property taxes rate in America. Effectively, we're taxing Texans out of our homes, and we, the government, is advertising effectively birth tourism. I think this is facilitating birth tourism at taxpayer expense. Get to Texas, have a baby for a couple hours, and here are all the foreign documents we will accept to give you a state of Texas birth certificate. There's no reason we have to do that. The Supreme Court can't make us spend, appropriate state dollars to print these fancy Texas birth certificates. It's outrageous. This is facilitating birth tourism at taxpayer expense. But here's the real scandal. So since July 2nd, I've been tweeting out the link of this website every day, demanding the governor stop giving birth certificates, okay, to illegals. Well, apparently the pressure's working. They didn't like that. So yesterday morning, I went and checked the website. They had deactivated the link that I've been tweeting at them for the last month. And I went looking for them saying, hey, did we get a big victory? Is Texas stopping to give birth certificates and advertising birth certificates for illegals? What I found is far more shocking than what I knew before they deleted the website. Not only one, they just moved it. So there's another website now with the same advertisement for birth certificates for illegals. But worse, when I was looking for where they put the advertisement, I found that not only is the Texas government advertising birth certificates for illegals, they are using tax dollars to advertise birth certificates for illegals in Spanish. The Texas government is taxing Texans and using their hard-earned money to advertise in a foreign language to foreigners, to non-citizens, to illegal aliens, that if you just get here to the state of Texas, we'll give you a birth certificate, and we will, in the Spanish language, help you facilitate what is effectively birth tourism. And I'm sorry, this is an absolute dereliction of duty. In fact, the Texas should be fighting birth tourism. This is much more akin to facilitating birth tourism at taxpayer expense, and it's outrageous and needs to stop, and it needs to stop today.
Brian, hang on one second. I know you got to bounce, but I just want to hold you for the part of the next segment to talk about the action plan we have to do. This is outrageous. This ties directly. So I don't want to hear those guys, oh, Mamdani's so terrible. The fix is in. The business interests in this country want more illegal alien labor. They want more of the phony legal immigration, the H-1B visas. That's who the problem is, and they're going to give a lot of lip service. Oh, Mamdani's terrible. No. To take care of Mamdani, first we got to go through you, and we're going to go through you. Ben Harnwell sums it up. There's no debate here. You're either for us or you're against us. We're either going to stop the invasion and expel the invaders and hold accountable those who facilitated this. Short commercial break. Brian Harrison from Texas next.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Harrison, people have rallied around you when you've done call to actions in the past. All this woke and weaponized at Texas A&M and other places, the redistricting. I mean, you've been a herald for the coming good to say, hey, look, this is the problem. This is the action the posse has to take. And guess what? People respond to your calls because you realize you're not bringing them marginal problems. Every time you come, this is like a central beating heart of a big problem. And we get it solved every time. Now, we have not left one unsolved yet. So what do people do? What is your call to action on this specific situation, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I got to thank the posse. Y'all have deserve a lot of credit for helping us deliver the biggest conservative victories that have come out of the Texas government. The establishment uniparty in Texas and in D.C., they don't do things on their own out of the goodness of their heart. They do things only, sadly, when they feel pressure from the people. And so you guys have rallied around us, and we've delivered the biggest conservative victories. And we got another one for you right now. Now, whether you live in Texas or not, you're vested in what happens in Texas. Texas is the line in the sand for the future of America and Western civilization, I firmly believe. So you can make a difference, whether you live in Texas or not, and you need to care about what happens here. This is an existential, generational crisis going on here. And so there's two very easy things you can do today. Number one, let the governor of Texas know that you want a special session right now. We're sick of empty rhetoric. You want action. We want a special session called this year in 2026 to make birth tourism a felony in the state of Texas. And then number two, something that doesn't even require a special session, the Texas HHS should be directed to immediately use their regulatory authority to stop giving birth certificates to illegal aliens. I can't believe I have to say this, and they've got to stop advertising in Spanish birth tourism, okay? But yeah, we need a special session. We need to criminalize giving birth certificates. We need to criminalize birth tourism, make that a felony, and then we need to stop giving birth certificates. Oh, and by the way, while we're down here for special session, let's deal with Sharia law too. Let's deal with property tax. Let's deal with all the other things that a Republican government should be doing. And Texas should have the boldest, most fearless pro-liberty government in America.
Last thing, Harrison, please tell me they didn't say bring a library card. A library card wasn't a form of ID, was it? Please tell me that wasn't reality.
You can either laugh. I can either laugh right now or cry or throw something at the camera.
Right.
But unfortunately, you show up in the state of Texas with a Mexican voter ID and a library card. The state of Texas will take tax dollars. We'll buy paper. We'll buy the ink. We'll pay a bureaucrat to hand you a state of Texas seal emblazoned birth certificate that effectively is the facilitation of birth tourism here in the United States. And instead of fighting back after what the Supreme Court did, the Texas government is more akin to aiding and abetting and facilitating birth tourism.
Okay. Can we put up the photo of Governor Abbott with the number once more time? Okay, I'm gonna read the number for those who are listening. Or listen to the podcast, 512-463-1782. Let me repeat that, 512-463-1782. Call Governor Abbott's office and give him the old what for of what need. One more time. When they call and make contact. Yep. when you call them
And
the
if you're in
contact, what should they
Texas,
say?
find your state rep and state senator, tag them on social media, and ask them why they haven't joined the call. We have had some, David Lowe, Chip Roy, Keith Self, but why isn't every elected Republican in Texas demanding this? If you live in Texas, find out who represents you in the legislature, and make sure that you put them on notice too. To hold their feet to the fire. Texans deserve better than empty rhetoric out of elected Republicans in the Capitol in Austin.
Brian, what's your social media? The most hated social media in Austin by the established order? What is it?
They hate it so much, but it's one of the few places you can go for the truth about the Austin Uniparty. At Brian E. Harrison on X, at Brian E. Harrison on X, at Brian E. Harrison. Please go right now today. Take 10 seconds, like, follow, and share. This is how we save Texas, is by pulling back the curtain on the corruption in the Austin swamp and exposing the truth to patriotic, hardworking, overtaxed men and women of the state of Texas and of America who want to save the blessings of liberty for their children and the next generation. We're going to do it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, great to be with you.
Rosemary Jenks, I want to have you on and talk about Western civilization in Spain, what's happening here in this country, the Haitians in Springfield. But I got to ask you just your initial response, what Brian Harrison is bringing up of the state of Texas actually advertising, taking taxpayer money of hardworking Texans and actually advertising for anchor babies down in foreign countries, particularly Mexico. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. This should never be happening in the United States. And I guarantee you it's happening in other states, particularly border states. But here's the thing. We need to throw everything at the wall in response to the Supreme Court's completely erroneous decision on birthright citizenship. We need Congress to act. We need states to act. Every state in the country should be denying birth certificates to illegal aliens. That's just a simple fact. It's clearly within the state's power. But, we need Congress to act as well. Congress needs to get off its butt and do something other than proposing amnesty for illegal aliens, and we all know exactly what the result of that will be.
Rosemary, hang on for 1 second. I want to hold you through the break because we've got a lot more to go through. I want to thank the folks at Birch Gold and Patriot Mobile for being our sponsors. I think Philip Patrick is going to join me tonight at 5 o'clock, and we're going to talk about the explosion in the bond market and why it's getting more expensive to fund the United States government. It may have something to do with, I don't know, the massive deficits we're running on top of the already $39 trillion of debt we've got and how you have to service that. One of the reasons for that is that we've just refused, the guys on Capitol Hill have refused to address spending. We take in about $5.5 trillion a year, and this is why if the IRS thinks you owe taxes, they're going to go get their cash, right? But that gap is about a $2 trillion a year gap. Where ever heard that before? Oh, yeah, the war room. Steve Bannon's been talking about that for a couple of years. Well, it continues on. It's making it more and more expensive to fund the United States government. This is why you're having an explosion in interest rates, not from the Fed doing it. That's going to come later with the interbank lending and the Fed rate. Right now, you just got a supply and demand problem. A lot more demand, a lot more supply than demand. That's why the 10-year Treasury's up. That's why the jumbos are up. That's why the 30-year Treasury's up. All of it. Birch Gold, want to find out what all that means? Is that gobbledygook or does that have some sort of logic to it? birchgold.com/Bannon, the end of the dollar empire. We don't want to see the dollar empire end, but we're forcing it every day that we run up these massive deficits. Find out why gold may be a hedge and maybe an answer to your financial situation, particularly retirement. Birch Gold, you got Philip Patrick. He's on at 5 o'clock today. We're going to walk through all of it. birchgold.com/Bannon, end of the dollar empire. Get it today.